I used to have a dream. A nightmare, really. A reoccurring nightmare. An expanse of snow stretching to the horizon. Startled by a silent scream of birds takes to the air, shaking the snow from the branches of a dead tree. A pair of jackboots crunch through white powder, staggering. I look down at my hands. Behind me, burning thatch, gutters, black smoke into an empty, never-ending crystal sky. I look down at my hands, covered in blood. An iron cross swings from my jacket. I wake with the start. Yeah, no, sorry, no, it's no good. Can we cut the sound effects, please? Sorry. Sorry. Sorry to stop there. It's just, I'm really embarrassed. Sorry, I can only apologise. What a terrible, terrible way to start a play.
This programme was broadcast on Radio 4 in 2005. It's an adaptation of Dan Tetzel's Edinburgh Fringe show, Sins of the Grandfathers. Comedians modifying their shows for broadcast on one of the BBC's radio comedy slots is nothing unusual, but for some reason, this was broadcast as a drama.
Unfortunately for all of us, this is a play about the Nazis. Yeah, I can see I'm not really impressing you with my originality there. If it's any consolation, I am pretty sure this is the last play Radio 4 will be doing about the Nazis.
It is a strange, stilted atmosphere, and that's not necessarily the fault of the performers, but it's far less fun than it really should be. A while later, I found myself listening to the show for a second time, and while it played, I noted all the places I would edit stuff out. When I got home, I actually did edit those bits out, just to see how the show would play without them. Once those bits were removed, I noticed it ran for 40 minutes. I thought I could get this down to the normal half-hour runtime that radio comedies play at. So I started cutting into the bits I enjoyed, just to get the running time down. And before I knew it, I had a 30-minute comedy show. So I sat down to listen to it.
My grandfather was a Nazi. Not a Nazi in the Jobsworth sense, or in the Daily Mail sense, or even in the sense that, if we're honest, all of our grandparents are a little bit racist.
The show had a completely different tone. It bounced along without any of the dreary bits to weigh it down. It was funnier too, as the average quality of the jokes was higher because the amount was less. Somehow a 2-star show had become a 4-star show, and all it needed was boiling down.
But the Nazis knew what they were doing there. Those uniforms are sex and death in equal measures. This was a corrupt and murderous regime who got their uniforms designed by Hugo Boss. And that's true, by the way. They also invented Fanta, which is why it tastes like it does.
What happened? Nobody's telling me anything. What happened to Joey Scott? What happened to my husband?
This is the Keanu Reeves police drama, Exposed. This film came out in 2016 and made little impact on its release. Reeves plays Detective Galban, who is investigating the death of his partner. Meanwhile, Ana de Armas plays Isabel, who is a young lady who sees beings which could be aliens or angels. This woman is somehow mixed up with the death of Reeves' partner. She befriends a young girl who says she's being abused, but we find out this story is playing out in Isabel's head to cope with the trauma from her past, including Keanu Reeves' dead partner.
But the kid was a real troublemaker, you know? He was dealing drugs and shit. Joey said he was just trying to mess with them, you know? But I don't want my Joey's name tarnished with this shit, okay?
Despite having the most screen time, Keanu Reeves doesn't do very much in the film. He spends a lot of time at his desk leafing through evidence, but not a great deal comes of his detective work. The angels are pretty cool, but it feels like something more is going to be made of them, but it never comes. Ana de Armas, who I'd not heard of before this film, strikes me as a very good actress, but she just isn't given enough to work with here.
Have you ever been sodomized or anything like that before? No, I'm not saying, no, hear me out, because if you have, it wasn't your fault.
I am not familiar with the director Declan Dale's work, and I don't know if English is his first language, but the stilted English dialogue in this film sounds like it has been translated from another language.
So, this is their new plan. To just sit there and harass me to death.
What can you do? They think you killed a cop.
It is by no means awful, but it is instantly forgettable. Even the title speaks of the blandness that permeates the film.
Its architecture is in parallel stories, in the shape of a kind of mystery. You follow Ana de Armas' character Isabel, who is kind of descended into a kind of madness through the trauma. And then the character I play, Scotty Galbin, homicide detective, here in Manhattan.
There's a combination of a gritty detective drama thriller and a kind of fantasy world related to a young girl's spiritual visions. Two parallel stories in two different worlds that at the end of the movie are going to intercept and connect in a very unexpected way.
While that recounts the events I saw, it doesn't really describe the tone.
Here's a slightly strange tale. A few weeks ago, I reviewed a film called Exposed, which was nominally a Keanu Reeves cop thriller, directed by Declan Dale. Although, as I said at the time of the review, Declan Dale was a pseudonym. It was a name put on the movie after the original writer-director, Gee Malik Linton, had his name taken off it because he didn't like the final cut of the film. Anyway, in my review, which was a real sort of thumbs down, I said, you can't pass any judgment on what the director originally intended, because what we have here is so obviously recut. It's so obviously a car crash of a movie. Perhaps the original version was a masterpiece. Who can tell?
As Mark Kermo just said, Declan Dale is a pseudonym. It's essentially the new version of the Alan Smith E credit put on movies on which the artistic vision has been compromised. Exposed was made as an independent production and then sold to Lionsgate, presumably sight unseen, as they thought they were getting a Keanu Reeves cop movie, and they ended up getting a surreal drama about the psychological effects of abuse.
There were tremendous layers in the script, great characters, and real tense, like a taut kind of through line, and it was like, wow, this is going to be a real balancing act, but that's great.
Lionsgate re-edited the movie, removing 30 minutes of footage, mainly from the Ana de Armas story, thus making Keanu Reeves front and centre.
Keanu is a great partner, a great actor, and a great producer in this case, and a great friend.
I don't want to reveal my sources, but I managed to get a copy of the director's cut. Daughter of God, as it was originally called, feels like a completely different movie. When this film was originally pitched, it was said to be somewhere between Irreversible and Pan's Labyrinth. In the long version, you can feel the influence of both.
Isabel.
It is a strange feeling watching this movie for a second time, as there are scenes which I didn't feel did anything in the short version that carry real emotional weight in the director's cut. And I say that without really noticing what scenes were added. Sure, the running time is 33% longer, and if I had them side by side I could show you the changes, but it's more important that I was invested in the film the second time, and I was not the first.
I know you. I know you.
It's still not a perfect film. The stories don't really mesh together enough for my tastes. Personally, I think it would work better without the Keanu Reeves story at all, as it feels like a character who would have only had a couple of scenes in the original script, and then they beefed up that role to get a star in, thus attracting finance.
¿Qué estás haciendo aquí, Isabel?
Padre.
If a character is written to support the main story, and then the main story is reduced to almost zero, leaving the support, then it's not supporting anything. It's like scaffolding and no building. In the long version, the structure is rebuilt so it feels complete. Not perfect, but complete. In making this video, it made me readdress my editing of Sins of the Grandfathers. Did I remove all the drama and just leave the jokes? Am I like Lionsgate, throwing out the structure just to leave the star? I've not released the audio to the public, but did I have the right to make it? Legally, no, I already knew that. But also morally, no. It's not my art. It was interesting for me to hear it for my own education, but the thought of someone doing that to something I made makes me feel quite bad. I don't really have a problem with fan edits as long as they're made with love, but when it comes to the butchering of Daughter of God, it sounds like Philistinism. It takes a fair bit of time and money to make these videos, and if you want to help me out, you can send me the price of a coffee at Ko-Fi. The link is in the description. If you like these sort of videos, these are the sort of videos I make. I'm Scott Kingsnorth, and I'm making a movie.